Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bitter Rivals podcast. This is episode 120, powered by 91N. I am your host, Avery Roche, along with co-host Gitano Gallo. I just about 2 minutes ago put myself on the IR and pulled a muscle in my leg while sneezing, so I'm a little embarrassed by that right now, and I'm in recovery mode, but we're going to power through this episode anyway. How are you, Gitano?
You know what? I'm doing pretty well this morning, Abe. How are you? Besides the muscle injury there, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I had a nice breakfast this morning. Cooked up some bacon and eggs. Watched the Leafs lose last night, so that was unfortunate. The Carolina Hurricanes came back on them to win. I believe it was 5-4 in a shootout, with Jake Gensel scoring, being the only goal scorer in the shootout on the Hurricanes' third attempt. That was an unfortunate way to lose. Especially after being up in that game 3-0 and 4-2 at two different times in the game. So that sucks. That sucks. You hate to see it. That's old habits creeping back in. And do you know what? That goes to show you how important Mitch Marner is, because a lot of the Leafs issues last night, do you know where it stemmed from?
Not having Mitch Marner.
Well, specifically special teams, which is what Mitch Marner does both ways. He is a wizard on the power play, and he's even better on the penalty kill. We are also without probably our second best penalty killer in Calle Yarncroke, who I believe it was a wrist injury. He took a hard fall in the game against the Flyers, and he has been, according to Cap Friendly, put on the LTIR. So that is no good, because he just came back after an injury. And like I said, he's one of our best penalty killers as well. So those are two pairs of skates that need to be filled in the penalty killing role. And to be honest with you, they haven't really figured it out yet. Mitch Marner is huge. Calle Yarncroke is huge. Connor Dewar's a good penalty killer, but he was in the box last night, so how is he supposed to kill a penalty when he's in the box?
Do you know how long Marner's out?
It's kind of been hush-hush. There's not much. I'm looking here just on TSN's news page, and I don't see anything pertaining to how hurt he is. I know that he's been kind of, like, he skated the rest of the game after the injury. He played the rest of the game after the injury, but I don't know when he will be back. So yeah, that's basically all that happened in Leafs land this week. They had, after the Saturday game against the Montreal Canadiens, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off. They played Thursday, beat the shit out of Philadelphia, actually, and then lost to the Canes last night. Matthews has cooled off a little bit in terms of his goal scoring prowess, probably partially due to the fact that he's without Mitch Marner. We know how much Mitch Marner and him work well together. And the lines have been kind of shuffling around, especially with the new additions and Calle Yarncroke being injured and all of these things. Bobby McMahon signed a 2-year contract. I think it pays him around $1.3 million per. So it's good to lock him up, because he has been very good for the Leafs. I believe he's a staple going into the playoffs, as we've talked about before. Other than that, it's been a pretty light week in Leafs land. Just only a couple of games. Last night was the St. Paddy's Day game. I guess we can mention that. That was a lot of fun, as always. I wish they would have won.
Horrific.
The jerseys are not good.
So
we understand that. The jersey, I think all of Leafs Nation collectively wants one thing and one thing only, and it's the green dominant St. Patrick's Day jerseys with the brown pants and gloves. That's all we want. And helmets. Brown helmets would be cool too. That's all we want. We don't want anything other than that, and that would look unbelievable. I believe they wore them in the Sundin era.
Yeah, that rings a bell. I can picture what you're talking about. I'm going to assume it's that era as well.
Yeah. So yeah, that's about all I have. The goaltending has been a little Samsonov's been dominant. Woll is still coming back. I think right now the number one job is Samsonov's, but it's good to have options.
Did he not get hurt at practice? Did I read that wrong?
So yes, he did, but his injury was a puck to the testicles, so he was fine. Yeah.
I mean, fair. That is definitely an injury that'll get you out of practice. But yeah.
Yeah, you're good to go for the game that night, but it sure doesn't feel like it in the moment.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
So Habs had kind of a weird week. So we started with a 3-0 win against Columbus. All three of the goals came on the first 4 shots of the game for the Habs inside the first about 10 minutes of the first. And then that game just kind of fizzled out into nothing after the 10D switch in Columbus. We lost to the Bruins on Thursday night in overtime. And I've said this to you, and I said this to my sister. I think whatever deity wants to take credit for the Habs beating the Bruins in overtime when I was there and watched it, because I would not have been able to live with myself if I'd seen the Habs lose to the Bruins in that fashion. But yeah, I like the fight. We're competing again, like, losing to you guys by one goal, losing to the Bruins in overtime, getting a point off them. You're kind of seeing the good fight. And then just fell apart last night against the Calgary Flames in Calgary. Obviously, the big story out of that is that Marty St. Louis is now away from the team for family reasons. Nothing else has been released. So just kind of hoping and praying that all is good for them. But yeah, it's kind of an up and down week in Montreal. Other notable things: Cole Caufield got his 20th goal of the season last night, snapping an 11-game goalless drought, it was just nice to see him hit 20. It was just one of those, like, it's a nice milestone for a young player. He also becomes the first Hab under 23 to get 3 consecutive 20-goal seasons since Stéphane Richer in the early to mid 80s, which is nice. And outside of that, not a lot has happened in Montreal. So let's take a look around the wild card and playoff spots, because it's starting to pick up a little bit.
Okay, here, let me pull up some standings. So, wildcard race we have. Okay. So, yeah, it's getting interesting right now. So, do you want to start in the East?
Yeah, let's start in the East.
Okay, so top 3 in the Atlantic are Boston, Florida, Toronto at 95, 94, and 85 points respectively. Those look to be quite locked in. Like, that looks like that's going to be most likely how that finishes, just based on the fact that there's only, 16 games left? And
Yeah, it'll
the
definitely be
Leafs,
those 3. They might flip their positioning around, but it'll definitely be those 3.
yeah, Florida and Boston are gonna compete for first. The other one will finish second. Toronto will most likely finish third. They have a 7-game lead and 1 game at hand on the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are in fourth in the division and lead the wild card race right now. I just don't see Tampa making up that ground on the Leafs over the last 15, 16 games of the year. I believe Tampa has 15 left. We have 16, so don't see that happening. And I also don't see the Leafs catching up to either Boston or Florida. They got Florida's got a 9-point lead. Boston's got a 10-point lead. The Leafs do have 2 games in hand on Boston and 3 on Florida, and 3 in hand on Boston. So they could make up some ground, but I just don't see it. Boston and Florida are going to continue to cook. They're just good. That's what it is. And the Leafs will have one of them in the playoffs, and that's just where we are. So the wild card, or Metro, you got New York, Carolina, Philadelphia holding the top 3 spots.
I still can't believe Philadelphia's in there.
Yeah, Philadelphia is definitely in there.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and it looks like they will be a playoff team, which is kind of crazy. They have 76 points right now. The cutoff for the wild card is 74. But honestly, they're probably going to finish third in that division, because next up in that division is Washington at 73. And the Islanders also have 73. I don't think that there's much of an opportunity for many teams to catch up to Philadelphia, especially if they keep playing well, because they've been playing well all year.
Like, so well. And even like losing Torts for 2 games didn't totally like derail them. Obviously, they lost to Toronto, but like that's a game that I don't think they would have won with Torts behind the bench either. So
no. So yeah, it's getting hot though. What you really have is you have 5 teams battling there. You got Philadelphia, Tampa, Detroit, Washington, New York. One of those Metro teams is going to finish in the Metro spot, and it most likely is going to be 2 Atlantic Division teams in those wildcard positions, and that just goes to show you the strength of the Atlantic Division. It's ridiculous. It's absurd.
I know. I've said for years now that it's the Habs picked a great time to be shit. Because even if we were like, in quotations, like good, you'd still be sitting with the fucking Red Wings and Lightning battling for a wild card spot. So it's great that the Habs are kind of still shit right now.
Yeah, exactly. So moving over into the Western Conference, leading the Western Conference is the Vancouver Canucks at 92 points. So we'll start in the Pacific. The next two teams in that Pacific division are the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. Vegas has taken a little bit of a shit. They are still in a wild card spot, though. They sit in fourth place in that Pacific division. In the Central, you got Colorado, Dallas, and Winnipeg. All of those teams battling for first place still. They're within 2 points of each other. And Winnipeg's only got 66 games played. So Winnipeg actually looks to be in a favorable position there. Man, it's a conversation worth having. Who has a better chance when you look at this? Who gives Canada a better chance to win a cup this year, the West or the Eastern Conference?
That's tough.
The only team in the East is the Leafs, obviously.
But like, and the thing is, like, objectively, the Leafs are pretty good.
Yes.
Like, so it's hard to not say them, but I also think the Canucks and Jets have looked just so good this year.
Yeah.
But also, I think the West. I don't want to say the East is easier for the Leafs, but I think the West is just like that much tougher. Like, you're gonna have to go through a Colorado or a Dallas, like that's just insane.
Edmonton.
Or Vegas, even like when they get in, because even they're not in a like a guaranteed spot right now, they're in the wild card spot, but still, like, that is not a fun 7-game series against that team, especially when they get all the guys off the
Cup champions for a reason, right?
Exactly. So I think just the strength of the West, and again, not that the East is easy. Like, there are some phenomenal teams, obviously the Bruins and Panthers, the Rangers and the Hurricanes, but like, I just think those Western Conference teams are just a step above. So I'm going to say that the East. I think that I would be less surprised if the Leafs won the cup out of the East than if the Canucks or Jets did it out of the West.
Okay, that's a fair assessment.
I mean, I'd be shocked if a Canadian team won the cup at all, but like, yeah.
Well, it's just, there's 4 of them currently in playoff spots, and 3 of them are in 4 of them are in high quality playoff spots. So they all are. Edmonton, Vancouver, Winnipeg, and the Leafs all could threaten this year. All of them. Right? Stuart Skinner's been playing well. We shit on him when he's not, so we gotta give him his props now. He's been playing very well. They've been playing very well. Remember how they started the season? Look at what they've done since then. Like, they've turned it around completely. They've been like, they were on a monumental losing slide.
It was great. I truly enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed it.
Yes, of course you truly enjoyed it. Everybody truly enjoyed it. Everybody loves to see Edmonton fail. But because we love to see them fail, we got to give them their props when they're up. And they are up right now. They are a good hockey team. They lost yesterday, but they are a good hockey team.
But also, like, losing to the fucking Colorado Avalanche in overtime is not. That's not a knock.
No, and that was a hell of a hockey game.
Oh yeah,
that was a hell of a hockey game.
Shout out my boy Arturi, OT winner.
Yeah, what a pass by McKinnon, dude, on that OT winner. Like, what a play.
Like, with half a second left too, right? Like, just disgusting.
So I had another, just while we're on this topic, I had a conversation last night with a friend of the show, Scott Riley. And Scott Riley proposed the question, who would you rather have, McKinnon or McDavid? And his answer was Nathan McKinnon. What is yours?
Oh, that's actually so tough. Like, my first instinct is McDavid, because you just always pick McDavid in these situations. That's just like first instinct. But like, I think it would depend what division or like what conference I play in, I think, is going to be my answer, because McKinnon's a little more physical than McDavid. So I think if I was a Western Conference team, I might lean McKinnon. If I'm an Eastern Conference team, again, that's you know what I mean? Like, the West is just a bigger more physical, always has been, always will be. I think an Eastern Conference team doesn't need that physicality to kind of like make it even. So you could go with McDavid there, but there's no wrong answer, really.
No, there really is no wrong answer with those two. And Nathan McKinnon's taken his game this year to just another level. And he makes everybody around him so much better, right? Like that's
just
and not that McDavid doesn't. Look at Zach Hyman.
Yeah.
But I mean, McKinnon, he's a little more vocal, a little more fiery, I think is a good way to differentiate McDavid from McKinnon. And I think that's probably what our good friend Scott was saying, and what a lot of people think is that he's just got that fire in him, that can't lose fire. And it's shown with the Stanley Cup that he won, right? Yeah. McDavid hasn't done that yet. And I'm not saying that just because McKinnon has a cup, I'd rather have him. That is not what I'm saying here, but it's a part of the equation. You can't take that out of the equation.
Especially because he didn't just play like fourth line minutes and get a ring. Like he was one of the key reasons why they won that cup.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, he had a supporting cast around him. Landeskog was still there, not hurt when they won that. Rantanen is just a horse. We understand that.
He's so underrated. Like,
yeah,
one of the better players in the league, and just does not get nearly as much credit as he deserves.
Their decor has been an absolute just staple for them for years now. And Cale Makar won the Conn Smythe in that playoff run. So that just goes to show you, yes, McKinnon did have a supporting cast, but he still is great all by himself. And you can't take that away from him. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting conversation that was sparked last night in my garage. So I thought I'd bring it to the pod.
Love that. Do you want to talk quickly just draft lottery odds? Just because the Habs are involved in this.
Yeah, should we pull up the draft lottery simulator?
Yeah, so I actually have it up right now. The Habs are currently sitting, looks like we'll probably be picking 6th if the nothing changed in the draft order. Only a 7.5% shot at that number 1 pick. But again, not that it's obviously like Celebrini's going number 1. And I don't think this draft class is as deep as last year's, but I think like any of those kind of top 5 to 7 picks are still going to be super, super good players.
So I just ran the mock draft.
Yeah.
You're going to be sick.
How far do we fall?
Well, you only fell 1.
Okay.
But everybody fell 1. Guess who jumped 8? The New Jersey Devils.
Okay, I just ran one and it was the exact same.
Are you kidding?
Like I hit so it starts off with like the normal order. I hit Sim Lottery. So I've got Devils and then everyone falls 1.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have.
Okay, wait. Who do the Habs take in yours?
Sam Dickinson.
Okay, this is weird. Sim yours again. I'm going to sim mine again. See if this is...
Okay, what do you got?
So I've got the San Jose Sharks staying at number 1. The Yotes jumping 3 to pick 2nd. Chicago, Anaheim, and Columbus dropping, and the Habs stay at 6.
So I have the Blue Jackets jumping 3 to 1. I have the Senators jumping 5 to 2. And then I have everybody going down 2. And then the Yotes going down 1 to 6, and the Habs going down 1 to 7, with 8 and 9 remaining the same.
Anyways, I look at that group, you know, obviously Celebrini's going number 1. I don't think that's kind of up for debate, but like, I would love the Habs to get a top 3 pick and take someone like Demidov or Lindstrom. Those two are like, you know, I'm not hopeful about it, but like that would be like absolute best case scenario if you don't get the number 1 pick. Would be one of those two, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, man, this is going to be an interesting draft. Iginla's in this draft, eh? Iginla's kid is in this draft.
Yeah. Like, this is like the weirdest, like, this kind of next little bit's going to be so weird when like a bunch of ex-NHLer kids that like we grew up watching are now going to be like getting drafted. Like Saku Koivu's kid, I think is either this year or next year. He's draft eligible, and not that he's going to be like a top pick, but like he'll probably like go in the first couple of rounds. I'm like, that's so weird to me.
Yeah. Well, there's even like there's a Juracek in this. Not sure if he's got any NHL family.
Lane Hutson's brother's projected as a first round pick this year as well. That would be fucking sick.
Cole Hudson, yep, there he is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting draft. To be honest with you, I'm not too familiar with any of the names other than Celebrini.
Yeah, I think he's the big one. Just with
he's
the
Habs consensus, yeah.
With the Habs being shit, I've been trying to, pay attention a little bit, kind of those top 5 guys, just so I have a slight idea of what I'm talking about come draft time.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the nature of where the Leafs are and where the Habs are. Is I don't know much, and you probably know a fair bit more than me.
And again, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm an expert in any way, shape, or form, but
yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about from around the league?
I think I got. I checked all my boxes.
Okay, as did I. So this week the Habs are out west, so we are visiting the Oilers on Tuesday. We've got the Canucks on Thursday and the Kraken on Sunday night, which is a weird one. So that was not going to be on the episode.
Interesting. We also play Sunday this week. So we have Tuesday, March 19th, we're in Philadelphia. Then Wednesday, back-to-back, we play Washington. Saturday, back home against the Edmonton Oilers. That'll be a fun one. And then, Sunday, another back-to-back. So we have 2 back-to-backs this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Saturday, Sunday, we play the Hurricanes in Carolina at 6 p.m. So we will not have that on the episode either. And that looks like that's it for the Leafs this week. It's good to have more hockey. 4 games as opposed to 2 last week.
Just about to say that. It's weird that you guys got that little bit of a break and then, 2 back-to-backs in a week. That's doesn't happen very often that I can think of. No,
interesting scheduling, especially down the stretch when teams are dealing with injuries and stuff like that. But it is what it is.
It feels very bubble season when it was like 4 games a week every fucking week.
Yeah, that was fucking fun. Like, man, that was a lot of fun. In the All-Canadian division, like, you cannot even argue. That was a lot of fun.
That was, like, some of my favorite hockey I've ever watched. And not just because the Habs did, like, pretty well in it. Just, like, in terms of there was basically always a good game on. Like, unreal stuff.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Bitter Rivals podcast. This has been episode 120, powered by 91N. And we will see you next week. Thanks again for listening. Have a good week.